Your number one priority should be posture. And you can see here already the connection with yoga. There are a couple of connections with what we might think of a modern yoga. First is posture, which should be, as Patanjali would say, sthira sukham. Patanjali says at least how far ahead, 1,000 years ahead of these Pali texts, Patanjali says that we should sit in a way that's comfortable and steady, and we should sit in a way that's focused on the infinite, and we should sit in a way that's happy and relaxed. So happy and relaxed. So super important. Let's start there with our posture then. So you want your pelvis higher than your knees. You want your lower body so soft, so passive, no tension whatsoever. So you can sit in cross-legged, you can sit in Siddhasana, Sukhasana, Virasana, which is a folded back leg position. You can sit on a chair, but towards the front of the chair. Some people put something under their feet. The pelvis is useful if it's slightly inclined. It's not uncommon for me to sit on my sandals. So I go out walking, and I put one sandal on top of the other, and that just gives me a little seat. But it's got to be sustainable. The total length of our meditation will be around 20 minutes. But that practice, as I say, should be sustainable. So that's where we start, posture. The other parts of Piper are posture, introspection. How do I feel? Am I tired, awake? Do I feel like I already know something, or I don't know anything? Or am I in a sort of craving mode, or am I averse to anything? So let's just give ourselves a moment to get the posture, and then the introspection. Is my body tight? Am I worried or calm? Am I am I cheerful or grumpy? And then the purpose is based. That's the next part of Piper. Posture, introspection. Purpose is based on what we find in our introspection. So if I'm agitated, the purpose is to calm down, which is a general purpose of Anapanasati. It's said to purify the body and the mind. It's based on the foundation that we've been practicing the 5 training precepts. Without those 5, it's said to be very, very difficult because the mind is disturbed by dualities. So those training precepts aren't about being goody-goody, but about having a life that's less tumultuous. And then on the basis of our purpose being a response to our introspection, I'm tight, so I'll relax. I'm excited, so I'll calm down. I'm annoyed, so I'll try and be kind to myself. Then we get enthusiasm. So that comes down to the fact that this is called the Mula Kammatthana. The Mula Kammatthana means the root place of work. All Buddhas of the past have used this meditation. The Buddha previously practiced some extreme early versions of pranayama before pranayama became sophisticated and tantric, way before the tantric paradigm, as far as we know anyway. The Buddha was practicing retention of the breath for very long periods of time, and he found that as we do find with pranayama, if incorrectly practiced, it made him irritable and restless. And then he remembered sitting under the rose apple tree when he was a teen, and his breath just came and went very, very naturally. So it's like Recha Kapuraka. And he entered into this samadhi, this meditation. So that it can be very enthusiastic. All Buddhas of the past have found, and this is the only practice that is clearly said to bring both calmness and profound insight. In other words, it can take you all the way, and we can talk about why that is. I'll be putting posts up about Anapanasati after this practice. And finally, resolve. I will sit I will relax. I will explore. I will be kind, very, very, very kind. It's a foundation to practice is deep kindness. Now, traditionally, this practice is divided into 16 stages, and what I'm going to do is drop those in as reflections as we practice. But they actually reflect deeper and deeper and deeper states of meditative absorption. So they may or may not fully correlate to anything we're experiencing, but perhaps just their suggestive tone might point us in a certain direction. What I recommend is that we don't grasp them, we don't try and understand them, we don't try and think about them, we don't try and get them in any way. They're just like little drops, and then let them go, and they will either have an effect or they won't. So they're the traditional 16 stages. The Buddha, in various texts in the Pali Canon, describes this as breathing in long, breathing out long, or breathing in short, or breathing out short. We calm the whole body. So it's a physical, it's very important to understand this is a physical practice. We calm the whole body. So we start with a body scan, noticing where the body might be gripping, and of course you'll feel the correlation between gripping in the body and the breath, being a practitioner perhaps of yoga, or perhaps not, but certainly in Vajrasati yoga, we have a clear understanding that the body and the mind are the same thing. They're invariably concomitant. They always appear at the same time, and they always mirror each other. So natural breaths. And noticing the effect on the body. So if the inner thighs are tight, if the buttocks are tight, so will the breath be. If you let go of the breath while aware of the buttocks and the inner thighs, the inner knees, the breath will be relaxed, breath will release, and the body will release at the same time. So it's natural, it's effortless, it's shaitilya, but it's relaxed. Now the Buddha also says that the practitioner sets their attention ahead of themselves. And this doesn't mean, of course, in the future, but it's referring to the bodily front part of the body. He reminds us throughout the text that we're aware of the whole body, but he brings our attention initially to the front, and that is presumed in the commentaries to be the nose, even to the tip of the nose, which is the most front part of the body. And there you can feel the breath. Obviously, seconds ago, before we started our meditation, we were already breathing. So there's really no requirement for you to do anything or to be anything or go anywhere. Or the breath's just like this, isn't it? If you notice any physical tension, let it settle. Spinal column, very light. First of the 16 stages says, breathing in long, we are aware. I breathe in long. Breathing out long. I am aware. I breathe out long. So without force, the breath is encouraged to be a little longer. We find particularly an extended exhale. It's very, very calming. But it's natural. There's not too much self mixed in. Sense of self is like salt on food. You don't want to add too much of it. So we're aware of the breath at the front of the body, most fore part of the body, which is the nose, the tip of the nose in particular. Shoulders are down. Buttocks are really so relaxed. Legs are almost heavy. Breathing in long, we are aware. We breathe in long. Breathing out long, we are aware. We breathe out long. Naturally, when there's an absence of trying, which is the attitude we want, the absence of trying, those long breaths become calmer, and their length naturally might reduce by themselves without any contrivance. They reduce only to a point that's comfortable and a little bit more subtle. There's no contrivance, there should be no lack of calmness. And so the second of the 16 stages says breathing in short, that is not too short, it's not short in an uncomfortable way, but just a little bit more subtle. That's all that's meant. I breathe in short. Breathing out short is aware, or she's aware, or they're aware. I breathe out short. So short here can be taken as just subtle, more subtle. And subtle happens because we're more relaxed. We're more relaxed because we realize that breath is selfless. We're more relaxed because we have this bodily awareness. bodily awareness. And we can feel how the body, the brain, the breath, and actually the universe, in the way that we see, in the way the universe responds, are one body, brain, breath, universe. So we're still aware of the breath at the front, at the nose, the most front part of the body. We're aware of the whole body. We know that relaxation is connected with the mood or mode of breathing. We're careful not to add too much salt, too much self, too much trying. We have a sense of trust in the process. The third stage, realizing the whole body, the whole volume of the breath, the whole body of breath. I shall breathe in. Thus we train ourselves, realizing the whole body. I'll breathe out, realizing the whole body of breath, its whole journey, from the tip of the nose down through the throat, into the lungs, the effect it has on the diaphragm, the effect the diaphragm has on the back, the effect the calmness of the back has on the legs, pelvis, through to, because of its subsidiary effect on the peripheral nervous system. Realizing the whole body of breath, the whole volume of breath, the whole effect of the breath. I breathe in. We train ourselves. Realizing the whole body of the breath. We breathe out. Suffuse the practice with kindness, gentleness, love, friendliness. The whole body of the breath. So relaxed. Your shoulders are down. Temples recede with softness. Whole body of the breath. On the way in, on the way out. This practice is already beginning to bring about what 1,000 years later Patanjali called Yogascitta Vritti Nirodha, the very description of yoga itself, the tranquilizing of the mind stuff. The next stage continues on the whole body of the breath and says, calming the bodily element, I breathe in. Thus we train ourselves, calming the body, breathe out. Thus we train ourselves. The breath has this soothing effect. Almost a sort of gently rocking or lulling. In a sense, we can say it's happening to us. Like a sort of, like loving words might lull and soothe us. The breath is ever present. Calming the bodily element of the breath. A whole sense where we can feel the breath, the diaphragm, lower back, the lungs, the throat. The lower back muscles, we know the quadratus lumborum muscles are involved in the breath. The psoas muscles, deep from the inner groins through the deep belly. We know they're connected to the breath because of their vicinity to the diaphragm. Calming the bodily element of the breath. We breathe in. Calming the bodily element of the breath, we breathe out. As we become calm, there's a sense of relief. And that sense of relief brings with it a joyfulness that we realize we are joyful underneath the noise. Joyfulness is the substratum. And this brings us to the next stage, which says from the text, experiencing joy, in Pali piti, in Sanskrit priti. Experiencing joy, I shall breathe in. Thus we train ourselves. Experiencing joy, we breathe out. I breathe out. Thus we train ourselves. So as we become calm, there's this sort of wonderful vritti. I get it myself when my mind starts to settle as tingling, like pins and needles on the body sometimes, or sort of like a spreading of warmth. It's like the energy that I had closed up and that had gone cold expands, pervades the body with tingles or relief or just joy, beginning to be calmer. And that calmness itself moves into our next stage, that lovely joyfulness. It brings so much enthusiasm, and then we know, it's like, now I know why I came and sat wherever we're sitting. And so that leads to the next stage, which says, experiencing happiness, I shall breathe in. Thus we train ourselves. Experiencing happiness, I breathe out. Thus we train ourselves. The word that's used, of course, is sukha. The translation here is happiness. Sukha can be translated very simply as a good space. A sense of being a little bit more easeful. Any parts of the body that are tense, and relax them. If you've not sat for long periods of time and you're getting pins and needles, you can adjust the body if you need to. It's a lesson in posture for next time, perhaps. We can try and sit in a different way, but we can mix up our posture any time. But it's also worth knowing that it's okay to get pins and needles as long as you don't have to get up suddenly at the end of the meditation. Experiencing happiness, I breathe in. Experiencing happiness, I breathe out. Of course, even when there's happiness and joy, there are still thought elements. There are still thoughts through the mind. Nothing wrong with that. That's what the mind does. Thinking about this, thinking about that. Our only issue with thoughts is when we take them seriously. Then we have a problem sometimes. We get a problem with thoughts. We take them seriously, and we take them seriously by identifying with them as mine or myself. So we might have a thought that we're ashamed of. My thought. I was speaking to a Buddhist friend yesterday, and she was saying how another Buddhist teacher was saying made it clear to her that everyone has murderous thoughts sometimes. Maybe you're driving the car and someone cuts you up and you're like, oh, the problem isn't negative thinking, or unpleasant thinking or pleasant thinking. It's attaching to thoughts. Thoughts just create themselves. They're part of being a human. They're a process. They're not personal. So our next stage is our experiencing thought elements. Citta sankhara. I breathe in. Experiencing thought elements. Citta sankhara. I breathe out. So the breath comes and goes. And there's a recognition that there's thoughts and they're sort of selfless. Bodies become calm and happy, joyful. And so it can experience thought elements within that context. There's a sense of humor now, a sense of perspective. And the breath helps to calm those thought elements by not getting attached. And so the next stage is connected. It says, tranquilizing the thought elements, I breathe in. Thus we train ourselves. Tranquilizing or soothing the thought elements. I breathe out. You can imagine you just sort of stroking with the breath thought elements. Sometimes they're like, listen to me. You're like, it's okay. You're listening to them, but you're not running with them. You're tranquilizing them. They need to be calmed, not gone with, but soothed like you're stroking a pet. So the breath coming in and going in out is tranquilizing thought elements. We're going to do just 2 more stages because we're at time, we're very slightly over time. And I'll continue with the whole 16 elements. I'll leave a recording for the 16 elements, but the last 2, realizing the state of mind, I breathe in. So realizing the state of mind, I breathe out. So the thought elements have been calmed. State of mind is like this. Doesn't have, we're not looking for it to be any particular way. We're not worried about how it is. And the last element is connected to that because it says, gladdening the mind, I breathe in. Thus we train ourselves. Gladdening the mind, I breathe out. Gladdening the mind. Very gentle, isn't it? Very kind, very soothing. I breathe in. Gladdening the mind, I breathe out. Gladdening the mind. Train myself as I breathe in, gladdening the mind. Just gently, really sort of cute, sweet, gentle. Gladdening the mind, I breathe out. Whatever the state of mind. Because of time, we'll let our meditation practice come to a natural end by returning to just the simple awareness of the breath at the front of the body, at the very front of the body, which is the tip of the nose. And we'll come back to complete those 16 stages and talk about those 16 stages. But we've completed the first 10. We can allow our eyes to open if we wish.